one of the stars of the European election campaign. Not only did she survive Paxman, she put Andrew Neil in his place. It's Suzanne.
For having me. One of the reasons I'm really pleased to be here is because the last time I was in this room was probably when I was about 23, 24 years old, because of course it is Birmingham City Council chamber. And I used to work here in Birmingham as a reporter, and I'm used to seeing this room full of Labour councillors. So fantastic, these walls are loving having a change. Yourselves a clap. Before we get some UKIP councillors in this room for council meetings too. So, UKIP has so much to offer young people. My goodness, I wish UKIP had been around when I was young. I might have ended up getting involved very early, sort of about 18, and ending up as one of those political elites, you never know, deciding to have a career in politics. But perhaps it's just as well I didn't. I was with a friend of mine the other day. He was in his 60s, so what I would call at your age an old man, and his son, who was 22, and they were having an argument about UKIP. And Trevor, my friend, was saying, oh, UKIP, it's just a flash in the pan, it's a protest vote, it's not going to go anywhere. And it was his young son, John, who was saying, Dad, you are so wrong. UKIP is here to stay. But of course the press would have it the other way around. That it's you guys who are the ones that shouldn't be here. And the older people like us, right guys? Shame, there you are. Who are the ones that should be supporting UKIP? So it is definitely changing, and just hearing Tom speaking earlier on about just how many people there are now in young independents is just absolutely fantastic. I think it must be really tough for some of you being young today. There are so many pressures on you and so many new challenges that you have to face in today's world. When I was your age, I had no problem getting a Saturday job, no problem getting a holiday job, no problem getting my first foot on that ladder when I left school. 1 million unemployed people in Britain now, and we know that that is partly because there are people coming into the country to take minimum wage jobs or less and are taking your jobs. And my goodness, didn't we get some stick for saying that in the European election campaign, but it is true. And you guys, really need to get that message out there, because it is your jobs that are being lost here, and you deserve better than that. And if I hear one more businessman or woman say, oh, the trouble with young people in Britain today, they haven't got the qualifications, they're lazy, they don't want to work the hours. I mean, it is so revoltingly awful. It is not true. I know how hard you guys work. And really, I think Young Independence has got a real role to play too in standing up against that kind of discrimination, because that's what it is, discrimination, pure and simple. Housing. I was former community spokesman. It's a real issue. I remember my daughter, Lucinda, she was only 13 years old, 13, tiny little tot really, and she looked up at me and she said, Mummy, she said, house prices are so dreadful. I don't know when I'm ever going to get a foot on the housing ladder. And I thought, this is 13, but there you are, that's my daughter for her. And of course, the issues that the government try to bring in to solve this problem just actually make it worse. Help to Buy. The bracket in which you can actually get Help to Buy is so narrow as to pretty much rule everybody out. And every estate agent I've met tells me that it's pushed prices up as well. So it's not doing anything. So real pressures on you. And of course you've got that additional pressure of being in UKIP. Because as several speakers have already said today, I mean Bill has said earlier on that they will go for us, they will attack us, and as Peter said, that means we've absolutely got to stick with our right to free speech. But being in UKIP comes with its own extra bit of discrimination as well. I know in Derbyshire UKIP Young Independence has had trouble with a teacher there who said nasty things about us. And I gather in Derby University, Young Independence, the student union didn't want them there and didn't want you to speak. And some great work done to overtake all that. But it must be really difficult, I think. I think it was Churchill who said that if you're not a socialist at 20, you've got no heart. If you're still a socialist at 40, you've got no brain. But really, again, Young Independence, it is for young people. There is so much that UKIP can say to young people, and it's fantastic that now we have 3 young councillors elected, Chris Wood, Tabitha Rodwell and Rachel Jones, and I'm sure there are going to be very many more to come. And again, I echo what Bill was saying, get involved in every campaign that you can, be it at national parliament level, be it local council, be it a by-election, whatever it might be. It's really good for people, everybody in UKIP, old or young, to see that there is a growing youth wing. We just love to see you out and helping support us. It's fantastic. But you have got a big job to do, because I just had a look at a few statistics, and I think only 4% of people under 24 actually vote UKIP at the moment. And we have the worst record in Europe, across the patch of any political parties, when it comes to young people voting as a percentage of overall voting turnover. So there's a huge amount of apathy among young people in British politics. You guys here are the ones that have broken through that, and you're grasping politics by the horns and running with it, and that's fantastic. But you have a huge job to do as well, of getting that message out in your communities that UKIP is fantastic, and it's fantastic for everybody, but it's particularly fantastic for old people. Oh, young people. Old people too. Jim, that reminds me of that's the kind of thing that gets you into trouble. Somebody might have heard that I apparently said that UKIPers and people who are young, cultured and educated don't vote UKIP. I didn't say that, actually. I was asked. It's true, isn't it, that young, educated and cultured people don't vote UKIP? And I said, well, actually, no. I think young, cultured and educated people are increasingly voting UKIP. And I said, I'm 2 of those. But unfortunately, a journalist on the Telegraph completely misheard it. Put it out on Twitter, and before we knew it, the truth had got his shoes on. It's gone around the world because the truth had had time to put on his shoes. So there you are. That one will probably be quoted now. So, what has UKIP got to offer young people in communities? Well, a huge amount. Our grammar school policy. I didn't go to grammar school because I wasn't clever enough. But I'm sure most of you in this room would really benefit, or have benefited perhaps, from some of the few grammar schools that are left. And I think actually putting that policy out there and saying, look, if you're a child from a relatively poor background, but you're bright, a grammar school gives you a real opportunity to get the academic education and the qualifications that your parents can't afford to pay for. So that's one good message. And the fact, education is free in this country, if you choose to have it free, and long may that last. UKIP's policy of promoting vocational training. This idea that 50% of us should go to university, it's actually destroyed things like apprenticeships. And the government has, yes, tried to bring them back, but it's not really been terribly successful. They're not doing terribly well. I remember when I was a local councillor in London, I said, how many apprenticeships have we got in the council? I think the answer was 4. An organisation that employs 3,000 people, and yet only a tiny percentage would actually become apprenticeships. So UKIP's emphasis on that, again, another great policy for young people. Direct local democracy. This is a fantastic idea of UKIP's, that people should take back power. Nigel called UKIP the People's Army, and that is precisely what we are. Local referenda on the big issues. So that if a group of people get together and enough people get together and say we want to vote on this, it's not just something that we're going to leave to the politicians to decide. That's a great way to engage. A liberal agenda free from government interference. That, I'm told, is what Generation Y really wants. To have a more libertarian approach to life. To be able to enjoy life without having heaps of regulation and directives placed upon us. And I'm sure that is one of the main reasons why that you're here today. Entrepreneurship. I spend a lot of my time mentoring young people, not just young people, but in the main it's young people who've been unemployed for quite some time and they just simply can't find a job. Now, I've always taken the view that whether you've got academic qualifications or not, in each of us there is the ability to achieve. We can all achieve something. So what I tend to do is work with people trying to help them set up their own businesses. And it's really tough, actually, because there isn't that much support out there. And the grants that are out there, you have to tick so many boxes in order to get them. And I think it's really important that UKIP has that entrepreneurial spirit, that desire to help business, that desire to help people through vocational qualifications and so on and so forth, and that's another good plus point for UKIP. One of the things that I would really like to see UKIP do, probably like to see all political parties do it, but let's start with UKIP because that's the party I support, the party that we support, is to get a youth manifesto. Too often I think political parties forget about young people, particularly if they're under 18, because young people under 18 can't vote. So they get left by the wayside. And I think that's a real dereliction of politicians' duty. We should be concerned with everybody in society, not just the ones that can vote for us. So perhaps that's something that young independents could think about in due course. You guys are great. This is the only youth you're going to have, so enjoy it. I can tell you, it's a lot better than when you get to my age. They say youth is wasted on the young, don't make that mistake. And particularly get on with it. Grasp the bull by the horns. Do your bit for UKIP in your communities. Do your bit for UKIP in the party. And enjoy it too. But do get on with it. Because if UKIP doesn't get into Parliament next year, or the term after that, or whenever it might be, unfortunately, it's you guys, rather than us more older ones in the front row, who are going to have to live with the consequences. So good luck.